So this is my '04 E350. It's the extended body one. It's got the 6.0 diesel automatic. I'm gonna do the straight axle on it in the front with I think the axle I got out of like a 2010. But yeah, I think the axle is pretty much the same from like '05 to like 14, 15, 16, I don't know, somewhere in there. And I bought this kit. I think it's like MG Metalworks. It's so pretty much you can use the factory F-Series stuff in the front. So I'll show the kit a little more later, and then eventually I want to swap the front end on this one to have that like the '08, '09 plus front end. And then right, it's a 6.0 diesel one. I don't know if I said that already, but when I bought the van, I got it had a bunch of oil leaks in like the valley, so I bought an O-ring kit and swapped all the gaskets in the valley and fixed that. But now I think an O-ring on the injector went out, so I ordered the O-ring kit for all the injectors, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna pull the body off so I can just do all the O-rings on the injectors, because apparently the van had the injectors and the head gasket done not that long ago, so I'm assuming maybe one of the O-rings got pinched or something. And then I repainted these two back doors because it was like a company van, and it had a sticker. When I peeled it off, it like took off a bunch of paint. So I just resprayed those two back doors. You can still see some of the glue from that. But yeah, I'm gonna put it in the shop and then I'll record in a bit. Okay guys, so I'm gonna start taking the cab off. I started off by taking off the core bar here because this is my first time doing it on these vans, so I'm just kind of gonna record it just to kind of also in case someone else is trying to do it. So I just took off this metal bar. It goes right here across the front. Hopefully you can hear me over this noise. So I took that off, and then I'm gonna take the intake off and see. Pretty much I'm just looking to see what bolts or like what wiring or whatever goes from like the frame stuff to the body stuff. So like this, I'm gonna have to unbolt this, and I'm gonna have to undo this AC line. Then I'm gonna have to undo like the heater core lines, I'm pretty sure. So I'll just undo stuff and then I'll record as I go. So I'm gonna start off by just taking off all the cab bolts or whatever. These have them on the inside, so there's one, two, there's a couple more going forward. I guess I mean, you'll be able to just look under the van and you'll see where the body mounts are, so just count the bolts, I guess, make sure you got all of them out. But it has like one there, and it has a couple more going forward, so I'm just gonna take those off, and then I was saying, you unhook the steering arm. It's that rod there where it hooks up to the steering gear. It's a 10 mil bolt, and then there's the 3 brake lines that go, because there's these 2 that go from the master cylinder, but they just go to the ABS pump. Then the 3 that go from there to the wheels, I unhooked those. I took off all the radiator stuff, and then the AC lines, I unhooked them. Mine didn't have any AC, so I didn't have to worry about the stuff in there. And then there's a main harness. I'll show right now once it's off. There's like a main harness, and then I undid the wiring here that goes from the computer to the engine. Mine's a 6.0 diesel, so I'm not sure if it'll be the same for all of them, but I'll give you an idea. Then I undid all the body bolts. Right now we're pretty much taking the cab off already. Everything seems like it's good. So when you do yours, just make sure you unhook the wiring harness from there too, and then there's a ground that goes here, and then there's another ground on the passenger side there, and that wiring there. Hook that, push it down, and then down by the batteries over there, there's a little ground strap, and don't forget your fuel tank. Pretty much, I guess the little checklist for you guys is the fuel tank fill up, and then there's that little ground strap there. Then there's like a main harness, that one there, it plugs in by the frame. It's a 10 mil bolt holding it together. Unhook that, and then there's another plug next to it. You unhook that one, unhook the shifter cable, unhook the steering arm here, And then unhook your heater core lines, AC lines, I think I already said those. And then undo your bolts. Mine were all like seized up on there, so there was a couple that broke, so I'm probably gonna have to get new ones. But yeah, overall that's not really that bad. I think these are kind of made to be able to take the body off pretty quickly, because it's just literally like a couple big plugs. And I mean, I don't see this taking more than like 2 hours to take off. I mean, it took me probably like somewhere around 2, but that's just because all my bolts were kind of in a headache situation. I just broke my screen, so I'm not really sure if it's recording or not. But there you go. So there it is. Now you can you know, change your fuel pump. So mainly I'm gonna do the injectors. I got the van, like I said, I think earlier, had an oil leak. And then the O-ring, pretty sure the O-ring ripped on one of the injectors because it's like the motor kind of seized up. So I'm gonna pull the glow plugs out and spin it and see which cylinder has the diesel in it. And then I was also gonna do the up pipes, and then I'm also doing a 4-wheel drive conversion, so I figured might as well just pull the body off. It just kind of makes everything easier to work on, I guess. And like I said, it's not really that much extra work if you have the tools. So there it is. Alright guys, so I'm not sure how good you can see because I don't have a light. Well, I have a light, but it's not very good in my screen. It like only half of it works, so I'm gonna try to record as much as I can with the broken phone. So pretty much, as you can see, it's all the way down to the frame right now, and I'm gonna jack up the front. So I was gonna do it on the lift, but you can see that's kind of not doable right now. So I'm gonna have to do the work on the floor, which kind of sucks also. So I'm just gonna start by jacking up the front end, getting the front off the ground. I'm probably gonna like unbolt the shocks, so as I'm jacking it up, the spring will just kind of like, because the shock is pretty much what holds the suspension from like full droop or whatever it is that you call it. So if I just pull the shocks off, I should be able to just jack it up and jack the weight off the springs. Alright, so I forgot to say, also take off the spring holder bolt, clamp bolt thing. And there you go. So yeah, I jacked it up, and you can see both springs are out. Like I said, you just take the shock off. If you undo this bolt here for the clamp before you lift it, it'll probably be better. So just take off the shock or unhook the shock, then unhook that clamp, and then that way you don't really need like a spring compressor, because as you're lifting the weight off of it, it'll be like, pretty much it's like the car is your spring compressor. So I mean, yeah, use this to your own, this whatever, just be careful. Alright, so like only like half of my screen works, but my next step is gonna be to take off the drag link, or whatever you want to call it, off, or unbolt it, and then I'm just gonna tap it with the hammer right here so it frees it loose. And I hope you guys can see, because like I said, my screen's not working, so I'm kind of just guesstimating. So then after that, after I undo those, I'm gonna undo the bolt there for that control arm thing, and then the other side for the other one. So I might not record that part, and then I'm gonna undo the brakes, and then make sure you unhook your ABS sensors. Alright, so there you guys have it. The whole front suspension is out, kind of like as a unit. So the bolts that went like there and there, they're 21s. It's a bolt and a nut, and then the 3 that bolt up right there are 15s, which are the ones for this bracket. Then that one's also a 21. What else? The shocks are 15s. So I mean, honestly, it doesn't really take it that long. It took me like 20 minutes, but that's probably because I have like no cab on here, so it's pretty easy to work around it. So now I'm gonna test fit those lift brackets and see what I have to do to make them work. All right, guys, I hope you can see this, because like I said, my screen doesn't work. It semi works, but it's like really bad, so I'm hoping it comes out decent. But I got the brackets on. They're you just gotta drill like the 1/2-inch holes, and then there's like some 7/16 holes like on the bottom. You can see them there. And then the 3, you just use the 3 existing holes there. So I got all those drilled and bolted. Pretty much with this kit, you don't really have to measure. It's kind of like idiot proof. You just put the brackets on there and then align it with the 3 already, like the 3 holes already there from the radius arm, the original one from the van. So yeah, you just align it with that, push it all the way up. I used the jack, and like I jacked it up so it would be all the way up against the frame. And then I drilled the holes, and then it's the same thing on this side. Still got the couple brackets I need to put on there still, but there's this one, same thing. The 3 already there, and then I drilled those 1/2-inch, and then the 2 bottom ones 7/16. On this side I have to figure out this bracket for the fuel pump. If it's a gasser, I don't think it'll have that pump there, but this one it does. So the next step is to put on that track bar bracket or whatever, and for that one you have to cut like part of this cross member here, this whole lip. So I'm probably not gonna do that right now, just because I kind of feel too lazy, but and also because I don't have my angle grinder here. So I think I'm just gonna call it a night. But yeah, there you have it. It's pretty much removing the IFS, and then I got those. I would have tried to record, but I was having issues with like my drill bits, and so I kind of got annoyed, and also with my phone having issues, I didn't record it. But there's that, and all I got left is that bracket. Cut the cross member there, drill the holes for that, and then on this one you use those 2 holes, go from the steering gear right there. So like this one's the same thing. After you cut the cross member, you put that up to it, and then just kind of tighten it down, mark where you're going to drill your holes over there, drill them, bolt it down, and then that's your track bar. And then after that, those, I think they just bolt on to there, to where the spring went. So then after you do that, I'm probably gonna grind the like the little mount there and this one here. I'm gonna grind the rivets off of those so I can take them off, because I mean they kind of don't serve a purpose no more. And then I'm gonna have to figure out a relocation for my oil filter, because I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might not work there no more, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Then right now I'm gonna do the valve cover stuff so I can put that back on there before I start cutting stuff up here, so that way nothing will really get in there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess that's it. So right now we're taking off the rear diff. I'm undoing the e-brake cable, so I'm gonna do that, just rear shots, and then the brake line and the dry shaft, and then they should come out. So let me just do that. Let's just do that, and then I'll record again. No mess, but so we put the rear axle on there. We're gonna run blocks just for now, and then maybe do leaf springs later when we're not on too much of a tight budget. But for now, I set up the pinion angle to where it's with the blocks on there, so it's the same as the... Alright guys, so we took the tranny off. Now we're gonna put, I mean, you could just get along with the transfer case, but my tranny was like shifting funny, so I just bought a different one with the transfer case, and I think we're gonna have to take the tank off.
making a video. Look at that shit. Ah!
This guy's talking a bunch of nonsense. So here's a 2-wheel drive one. And then on these, if you wanted to, you could just take this off, the tail housing, and then swap the end shaft, because apparently you can just pull it off. I haven't tried it, but apparently you can, and I just bought this one. With the transfer case, it's electric. I'm going to see if I can maybe get the motor to work, the little electric one, to shift the 4x4. If not, I don't know. If not, I'll just swap it, but at least like I can like get the drive shafts made and all that. With this one, I paid super cheap for this, so it's not even a big deal. So I'm just going to swap the hoses over from this one to over here. The hoses, the wiring, and then once I put it on, once I put the body back on, I'll just lift the whole van up and then do the filters and stuff, just because down here it's kind of going to suck. So right now we're just going to take the transfer case off, just easier to lift it around and put it back in.